Good morning, this is Jack from Charting Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Tuesday, the 10th of June. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingmarkets.substack.com and is published on YouTube after a delay of 24 hours. All right, okay, let's have a look. Now, on ES, we've actually got, something I've been talking about was we've got 2 days of bearish tape, historically leaning bearish tape today and tomorrow, and we've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed on ES. Is that going to deliver? Maybe. We will see. We do have a potential little double top here as part of potentially a larger double top. On NQ, we've got a potential little level top tier 2, but no negative divergence. On RTY, we've got a full 60-minute sell signal that is fixed overnight. Possible big double top here. I'm not seeing much or really anything to suggest that a large double top here will play out, but always worth watching while it's there. And we've got a potential double top, obviously, on YM as well, and no negative divergence. On DAX, the sell signal made target yesterday, and on ESTX, we are between signals. Let's have a look at the big picture charts. Now, I'm still on the SPX ADP. It doesn't necessarily always make it back to the minus 25 area on this move here, but I'm thinking we might get a move down here. We will see. Looking at the ES chart, we got a possible weak RSI 5 sell signal brewing, so I'm watching that. We do have some negative divergence on the daily RSI 5s, mainly on SPX and on the Qs. Looking at the main daily chart, obviously main support is at the daily middle band. I've got that currently at 59.17. We've got this possible weak RSI 5 sell signal brewing, and we've got a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing. But as I said, I'm not really expecting to see a big retracement here. The obvious lean is to see this go higher. On the 60-minute chart, we've now established what would be a decent rising support trend line. We haven't managed to do that on the Qs, and we haven't managed to do that on DIA, but we do have decent rising support trend lines on both SPX and IWM. If we do see a bit of retracement today, I'll be looking for possible hits of the right area on DIA and Qs, and I'll be looking at that. No divergence on the hourly chart. On the 15-minute, no divergence as well. And let's have a look at the Qs. Okay, Qs, we've got a possible. Now that we've made a new high here, we've now got a possible weak RSI 5, no, a possible full size RSI 5 sell signal brewing here, and a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing here. I'm really expecting to see a retest of the all-time high, and in the not too distant future, I'm thinking next week. So we will see. But in the meantime, we are getting some negative divergence. On the hourly chart, no current divergence. And looking at where I would like this to get to, I'd really like to see the Qs get down to this level here, which I've gotten about 513 area. That's a bit of a stretch from here. That would take quite a significant decline. But ideally, we'd reach this level, and then we would have a decent supporting trend line, which we would then be looking for a resistance trend line on a pattern from this low at the start of April. Looking at DIA, obviously, main rising support trend line rising support here is at the daily middle band. We've got no current divergence here because at the moment I'll be writing off this RSI 5 sell signal because we've made it back to the 70 level on RSI. So we've got no divergence on DIA. But here you can see the trend line that I would like to see reached. I'm thinking we might reach it here, but it may be a bit of a stretch because, again, it's not too close. I've got this in about the 421 area. On the 15-minute, nothing to speak of here. So I am thinking that if we see a decline here, text me. So I'm thinking if we see a decline here, that we will see. It's whether we can make those targets. If not, we can always make them later. IWM, no current divergence. We have got this inverse head and shoulders, which is now broken up with a target at a retest of the all-time high at 243.71. That's looking good. So I'm watching that with great interest. Looking at the hourly charts, we got an RSI 14 bicycle that's now made the full target, and obviously we're breaking up from the IHS, which is a pretty nice looking IHS. On the 15-minute, no current divergence. Have we got a decent setup for a trend line, a support trend line here? Yes. I haven't drawn it in yet, but it's a bit early days. I'm waiting for this to break higher. All right, DAX. We got a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing. We've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. As long as we're not seeing a sustained break below the daily middle band, currently at 23,983, then I've no real concerns about this going down, but if we start seeing some weakness, then that would change. On Nikkei, if IWM makes that target, then I'm thinking we may well see a retest of the high here at 42.4K. Okay, let's have a look at currencies. Okay, DX. DX, we've broken up for a double bottom. We've got a target up in about the 99.65 to 99.85 area. But of course, this may be falling back into the lows. That happens a lot. And we could see that here. And this could be, well, there's not a great double top setup setting up for the bottom, but we could be rejecting back to the lows. ZB. Here, this is looking very interesting. Now, we've got a likely bear flag wedge, which has set up a move to retest the low here. And we've got a possible head and shoulders forming. We would be forming the right shoulder at the moment. We'd be holding resistance more or less at the monthly pivot at 113.03, and we will see how that goes. But if this head and shoulders continues forming and then plays out, then that would get us back to the lows. So we will see. On ZM, we've got a double bottom that is broken up here. Now, there's no obvious level where a double bottom fails, but I think this is probably to the lows too. We will see how that goes. Do we have a head and shoulders forming here? Nothing obvious, no. So we shall see. All right, looking at CL. CL, I'm watching carefully. On the bigger picture, I'm wondering if we're heading back into this resistance trend line up here in about the 67.55 to 6 area. But in the short term, we've got this rather nice looking rising wedge I drew in on Friday, I think, and we are testing resistance at the moment. We've got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing. I'm wondering if we might see a short-term breakdown, maybe a back test of the weekly pivot at 63.48 here. Let's see how that goes. HO, I'm wondering about it heading up into this obvious trend line up in about the 2.21 area. On RBOB, I'm wondering about a retest of this high and possibly a move up into this trend line here, which would be in about the 2.19 area. So I'm just going to draw that a little further. I only draw that further and redo this trend line because if we go back and hit that trend line, then this rising wedge just expanded. So we'll see. NQ, we've been seeing some weakness. We had a sell signal that made target. We've got a possible double top breaking down here with a target at a retest of the lows. Keeping an open mind. We shall see. Looking at GC, GC. The little double top could be failing. It's got a target down in the 32.85 area, and at the moment, that's not making targets, but it may yet do so. We will see, or we could just reject back up to the high. Quite a lot of these patterns do. SI, we've got a very nice little channel here, actually. The obvious next target is the channel support in the 36.2 area. And watching this with interest. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and so far that's delivered absolutely nothing. On Palladium, we've been seeing a bit of a retracement here. I was wondering if we might see a bit of a retracement looking at the GDX chart of the weekend. Platinum is just consolidating sideways and has been very, very strong. And obviously this has broken out of the 2-year compression triangle that had been forming and has broken out with confidence. HG, nothing particularly obvious happening here, but I would say that we've got this rising megaphone here, and the megaphone support is now crossing the monthly pivot at 4.68, so that's quite an attractive target if it can make it. Looking at the currency pairs, euro, we've got a possible level top here, but the obvious trend line target would be up here in about the 1.557 area. And we could be heading there. GBP USD, possible level top here. USD JPY, we've broken up over this declining resistance, but we have got a potential little level top here, which I'm watching. Really, I'm leaning somewhat towards the upside. USD CAD, possible bottoming action here on the bigger picture. 60-minute buy signal reached possible near miss target. Australian dollar, possible double top setup here. NZ. possible topping action. KC. Now, what I'm looking for here is a reversal pattern. We've broken up from the wedge. I'm looking for a reversal pattern and possibly a retest of the top of the wedge up here in about the 418 area. Now, we've got a couple of options here. We could be forming an inverted head and shoulders, in which case we could be finishing the right shoulder at the moment. Or this could be setting up a double top potentially to take us back into a retest of this low here in the 336 area. So I think one or the other on those. If we do retest the 336 area, then I'd be reading that as a likely double bottom, and so I'd be looking for a larger move up. Either way, I think the odds of seeing more upside on coffee are pretty good. Looking at sugar, we've got a little IHS which is broken up here with a target in the 17.1 area, and I'm watching that. That would require getting over this declining resistance, which is currently in about the 16.85 area, I think. On CC, this looks like a bear flag forming. The next obvious target is bear flag support, currently in about the 91.25 area. Looking at cotton, still got a potential double bottom forming here. Lumber, still got a possible bear flag forming here. On wheat, I was saying yesterday morning this could potentially be a double top, and it could still potentially be a double top. So I'm watching support at the monthly pivot at 532.25. If that converts, then we've got a crack at double top support and could go lower. This is a bit oversized as a pattern, but not so far that it is invalid. But the target the first target would be a retest of this low here in the 506.25 area. On corn, we got a potential double bottom here, and we got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. So we did have a double bottom yesterday, but basically that got up to resistance, fell back into the low, and we've got another crack with a potentially slightly larger double bottom now. On soy, we've broken up from what looks like a bull flag with a target at a retest of this high here in about the 108.2 area. On ZL, we've got an IHS which is broken up with a target. Has it broken up? It's broken up and it's failed, which is interesting. So I'm going to take this arrow off. So still looks like bottoming action though. Watching it with interest, but this is less bullish because the right shoulder low was here and the low after that broke up was here. So that's now failed, and that's not a valid pattern. Looking at live cattle, we're going through slightly the first of the rising wedge resistance trend lines here. I'm wondering if we're setting up to form some negative divergence, but not seeing any yet. On lean hogs, this could be a bearish overthrow over this wedge resistance, which is decent. So we could be forming an alternate trend line here or just breaking up. Watching that with interest, no current negative divergence. All right, let's have a quick look at questions. Is Dyer showing an IHS? Hang on, wait a second, let's just see. I don't think so, because I think it's too big. Yeah, it is. So what the problem with this is that the start of the trend is here at 448.67. You can see we've got the fibs lined up. This is actually about a 73%, 73.4% retracement, and this would be the top of the right shoulder. It's too big to be an inverted head and shoulders. That doesn't mean it's not going to make a target at a retest high here, but it's not a valid IHS, and that's why I haven't drawn it in. And the valid IHS we've got is on IWM. The one that we're looking at on Dyer is like the one we've got on Nikkei. It kind of looks like an IHS, but it's too big to actually be one. All right, so, and this is the one on IWM, which I am looking at, and is not too large to be valid. So watching that with interest. Okay, so we've got obviously we've got some trouble in LA. That may actually affect the markets negatively. The military's been called out, and we've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed here, and we've got a full size 60-minute sell signal on RTY, and we've got 2 days of bearish leading tape. Watching with interest to see what happens in that time. Certainly, I've got some downside targets I would like to see. And they are, I'm just repeating them. On Dyer, I would like to see this trend line made, and I've got that currently in about the 420, 421 area. And here, I would like to see this trend line made, and I've got that currently in about the 513 area. This will be a better setup to have patterns forming from this low. At the moment, we have got decent looking bases to build from on SPX and IWM, but it would be nice to have that on the Qs and Dia too. I'm thinking we may go down and get those. So the next leg up, which looks as though it should be next, would actually have a better base to build from. All right, great. In that case, I think it's a wrap, guys. I will catch you guys tomorrow, and everyone take care.